need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
Our first question comes from, drumroll please, San Antonio, Texas. Mary is writing, and Mary writes, Betsy, I want to hang curtains on the ends and in between 3 windows. The windows are 47 inches wide. The space between is 7 inches. I do not want to obstruct the view. What kind of curtain rods should I use? The longest ones I have seen are 144. Should I use more than one curtain rod? I prefer a minimal look. All right, so let's dig in here. Yes, you do have a very long expanse of windows. And there's a couple ways you could go about this, Mary. Let me just see here one sec, because when you're thinking about windows, rods, fabric, you want to be thinking about places for them to gather at the ends, right? So you have this series of 3 windows, each 47 inches long with 2 spaces of 7 inches in between. And you want to keep this beautiful view of the trees in this field very open, and I don't blame you. However, on the left-hand side, within a foot of the window, you have a TV stand, which is taking up room on the wall that the window shares. And then on the right-hand side, you have a good amount of space. It's just that rocking chair that you could easily move to gain more room, and you'll have 2 feet on that side. Now, all of this is to say, let me share with you what you could do. You could get a very long rod, and yes, they make rods longer than 144. I just got a rod for my dining room that was like 175. I got it on oh shoot, where did I get it? I literally just Googled extra long gold rod because I didn't want to pay the price of Crate and Barrel, and Crate and Barrel also had a very long wait. Let me see here if I can pull it up on my other. I keep everything for my new house in a spreadsheet, which helps me to track all the 200 things as they come and go and come and go and need to be returned due to issues. Oh, here we go. I went to Designer Drapery and Hardware. Designer Drapery and Hardware. I got this amazing high quality rod. It was over 170 inches in length, and it was brass, and it looks fabulous. It looks just as good as the Pottery Barn rods in my primary bedroom, and I got it for like $250. Really great. But like I said, Crate and Barrel has one that goes to like $180 for $300, and there's other places too. You could always check Smith & Noble, even ones that you buy on Bed Bath & Beyond if you're using the Cambria Complete Collection, which of course I love, but they have very limited colorways now. Anyway, you can buy extender rods, and they also come with extra brackets so that you can make your 48-inch rod a 240-foot rod. You'll just want to make sure to use extra stability brackets because you will find that it will bow in the middle or start to sag if you don't support it. And I think you need to support it about every 60 inches. Okay, here we go. Let's talk. It depends what you want to do with these window treatments. Window treatments are not a yes or no answer, unfortunately. When you are looking at window treatments, you want to ask yourself, am I ever going to want to close these drapes? If you want to close the drapes, what you'll need to do is get an extra long rod and put brackets at each of the 7-inch spots right above in the middle, and then put a panel on each side of those brackets and at the end of each window. Now you can do a single wide panel, right? You need double the width of drapery that you have width of window to have it undulate and close nicely without looking too taut. If we know that each window is 47 inches, we also know that the common panel for a window treatment, if you were just to click and buy one online, is between like 42 and 52 inches wide. That's perfect. That gives us our 1 times, because we're going to have 2 40 to 50 inch panels covering one 47-inch window. Amazing. However, you will find that it obstructs the window a little bit. You are going to have some fabric that sticks out on either side of that bracket, slightly covering the window. And of course, you've got that TV stand so close to the window, and you don't want your drapes to touch the TV stand. So drapes are going to impede the view from these windows. There's just no doubt about it. Now, what if you tell me, Betsy, I don't actually want these to close. I never need privacy. I never need opacity. I just want to add some softness to this room. Excellent. We can have a different approach. What we can do is that one long rod, you'll still need stability brackets so that it doesn't bow in between each of the 7-inch separators, right? But then, in my humble opinion, you need more fabric on either side. So at those extreme ends of the window are the only two places you would put drapes if you don't actually need these to close. But you're going to need a considerable amount of fabric. If you just put one single panel at the end of this long expanse of windows on each side, it's going to look like anemic sideburns on the end of, a big old face. Santa Claus, he's just on my mind. His big old face is there with these little tiny band-aid sideburns. That is not a good look. You need chunky drapery with this very wide window in order to really make it feel proportional and correct, even if you never intend on closing these. The problem is, the more bulky drapery you have, ideally, the more you would hang that bracket further outside the window so that drapery doesn't encroach on this majestic view. But you can't do that because you have the TV stand. You could certainly do that on the right-hand side. Heck, you could go out a foot and a half. But on the left-hand side, you can't even go out really more than 7 inches. And you don't want to have one side be different than the other. They do need to be symmetrical and matched. So either you get rid of that TV stand, or you do anemic window treatment, or you do the appropriate amount of fabric, which in my thought process, in my opinion, as I were to say earlier, would be like a 100-inch panel on either side. Now, you can reduce all that bulk, thus reducing the amount that it blocks your window if you do something unlined, if you do something more translucent, right? Like a sheer or an open weave linen or something that feels very lightweight. And the key, you asked me what rod to use, but the true key, especially with a challenging window where you want to maximize the view and minimize the amount that the fabric encroaches, is that you would either do this fabric so that it is on a ring, which means a French pleat or a pinch pleat within a drapery pin and a ring, or my personal preference, which will be much cheaper and much easier to implement, a grommet panel. Grommet panels will allow you to push those panels to the side, squish them so that you get the maximum view, right? But you can also get the maximum amount of fabric so that it looks proportional with this beautifully large window. Guys, when you ask me questions about windows, I'm just going to give you the answer, and it's going to be involved, and you're going to have to put your thinking cap on. This is not like patterns or colors or paint where we can just lightly pop in and pop out. I've got to get into the weeds with you, Mary. So I hope over there in San Antonio, Texas, you are taking copious notes, because this is not a particularly challenging window, but there's more than one way to dress for success here. And I want to make sure that you get the perfect treatment for you and what you hope to do in your space. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy, who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller, who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.